Mike, turn your games down.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 237 of Games My Mom Found. I am Mike Albertin, and who's summoning a giant robot with me tonight?
I am Impacto.
Dash.
Oh, it's just me. It's me. I'm Phil Theobald. Hello.
And where can people find you? I might know you from.
Well, you might know me, and if you don't, you can go looking for me, although I don't know why you'd want to, over at the Player One podcast. The Playinist podcast, whatever podcasted.
It's a dad podcast that talks about video games.
Gosh, we kind of
I mean, that's kind of how you guys are.
We didn't start off as a dad podcast, but we all ended up there. We've been doing that. We've been doing that show for like what, 15 years or something now.
It's a long time. Every so often you guys mention it, and I've heard it.
Yeah, I mean, my goodness, we were so young. We didn't have kids. We were oh boy. But now we're old. But we're still doing Player One. I'm recording a new episode later this evening.
Hey, podcasting is fun, and you guys have kept the same hosts forever.
Yeah, I mean, we've shuffled around a little bit, just because every now and again one of us would get a job that would require us to not be on a podcast. But yeah, it's myself, it's Chris Johnston, it's Greg Seward. We're all former EGM Ziff Davis people talking about the old times of video game magazines and all the current crap.
But we are here to talk about a game that I didn't even know existed until I think it was randomly you mentioned it on Player One, probably. Mystical Ninja starring Goemon that came out in 1998 for N64 and developed by Konami. Like, I did not... Like, I knew of Legend of Mystical Ninja for Super Nintendo. I played it, loved it as a kid. Did not even know this game existed, really. Or anyone even talking about it.
It flew under a lot of people's radar. At least, I mean, I don't know how well it did in Japan, but yeah, here in the States, just nobody cared. Nobody noticed. I mean, that whole series, the Goemon series, Mystical Ninja, if you're here in the West, it never really took off. But, over in Japan, there were, oh my gosh, that series started in the arcades. And there were several Famicom games, the Super Famicom, the SNES. We only got the one game, but there were, I want to say 5, because I think there were 4 mainline titles, and then there was a spin-off action puzzle game starring Epsimaru, your sidekick. And then then they did this N64 game, which I was honestly shocked that they released it over here, but I was delighted because I loved the one that we did get.
I don't know how I completely missed this. I mean, I think I might have seen it like a box art for it, but I didn't care, because no one ever talked about it.
Right.
No one ever mentioned like, hey, this is a great 3D platformer that you should be playing. People were like, oh, Banjo-Kazooie, Super Mario 64, and I mean, I'm going to get out of the way right now. I found this game more fun than both of those when I played those on the show, and 64 was not that long ago.
Wow.
So, I mean, Goemon did it for me.
Now, you will be hard pressed to find a bigger Goemon nerd than myself.
Yes.
I don't know if I would place this above Mario 64. Granted, I haven't played Mario 64 in quite some time.
Keep it that way.
Oh my.
Just trust me, keep it that way.
Bold.
You don't want to go back to that game.
That is a bold statement, but without hesitation, I can say, yeah, this is better than Banjo-Kazooie, because, I mean, hot take. I don't like Banjo-Kazooie. I never liked Banjo-Kazooie.
No, it's not that great.
Even back in the N64. Okay, here you go. Hotter take. I really don't like Rare games. What do you think about that?
That's fair. I just mainly like Perfect Dark and GoldenEye, and that's more of the time and place.
Let me tell you this. I liked back in the day. I liked GoldenEye a lot, and I liked Blast Corps. So that was my those were the Rare games that I enjoyed back in the day.
I've never really played Blast Corp yet. I've been slowly trying to play a lot of the Rare games for this podcast, but it's slow because I don't want to do it. So.
Yeah, Blast Corps was a fun game. I legit enjoyed Blast Corps quite a bit.
Very unique, but I mean, 64 is so Rare is the main thing that dominated for so many people's talking about 64 games, and this is one that just slipped through the cracks. And it's a goofy game, but it's meant to be. and it's hilarious. Like
What are you
34-year-old Mike was laughing his ass off at some of the dumb comments they make. Like when you start this game off and your partner, the old man Ibusaru, strips naked and is like, "Well, I thought we get a discount if I strip naked," and you get kicked out of the place. I'm like, that's hilarious.
Oh, you don't play a lot of video games that have laugh tracks?
No, I don't. I was surprised when I started hearing laugh tracks. I'm like, okay, this works because it's trying to play on the corniness and the hilarity of what we're doing.
Absolutely. What a great. Oh boy.
I mean, also it's just weird to me. Like we get the one Goemon game that comes out Super Nintendo, and then we get this years, maybe not that long later, but like, and the fact that they still call it, they call it Mystical Ninja starring Goemon, which the next game then it's just Goemon. They got rid of the Mystical Ninja, which probably also would have turned me off from anything following up because I knew the brand Mystical Ninja.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Honestly, I was quite pleased, and I guess this shows how more, I hate to say respectful, but I guess probably respectful companies were when localizing these Japanese games. I was just pleased that they used the Goemon name for this game, because if you remember in the original Legend of the Mystical Ninja for Super Nintendo, the main character was not named Goemon.
That I did not remember.
Yeah, Goemon was localized by Konami as Kid Ying.
Oh, now I do.
And Ebsamaru was Dr. Yang. So, not great.
No, I mean, I'm glad that they, we got farther. They're like, yeah, we can actually use the real names and not, not try to be stereotypical.
Exactly. But,
no, this game is like you made a comment to me back when we did, I think, Mystical Ninja, where you're like, this was a 3D platformer before Ocarina of Time, and it has some of that. Like, this is very much an adventure game where you're going on a big quest and you have dungeons that you go through and you get upgrades and your characters change, and I'm like, and there's a lot to this game, a lot more than I expected when I first started playing this on the Steam Deck. Yep.
Yeah, it predates Ocarina of Time by like a solid year in Japan.
Damn.
And even US by probably 6 months or so. So, am I saying Nintendo stole all their ideas from Mystical Ninja starring Goemon? I'm not saying it. But if people want to imply or infer, well, people wouldn't be implying. I'd be the one implying.
Yes, but people you can see it like maybe that Ocarina of Time probably would have been somewhat in development. Like, see some of the stuff in here and go, okay, this would work. Like the idea of having, just dungeons and having a world that you're exploring. You break pots and you get money in this game too.
Yeah.
I mean, this game had a heart system. This is nothing new, but I mean, at one point I had to collect 4 little cats to upgrade, or more than one, to upgrade my hearts. Yep. And I'm like, I see what you did there, game. Man, no basic, math, basic video game things, but I'm like, it's little things. Like I wanted to explore this world. I mean, the game was a little confusing, but there's enough NPCs to talk to if you do that and don't just read a guide that will tell you what to do and give you hints.
Yep.
I just mostly just used the guide, but the game felt like it would have been playable had I not been just cheating.
Right.
And I appreciate that in the game.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly back in the day, I played through and finished this. I mean, I guess we probably had game facts back in the day, but I don't believe I used it. I don't think I was looking up someone's fact or anything. So
it wouldn't have been as easy either back then, because you were looking at dial-up internet in the 90s. So, I mean, you got to remember that too. It's like getting that webpage was not a simple thing.
That is true. But yeah, it's a fantastic little game.
And just how much you upgrade too. Like you start off the game with just Goemon and Yabusaru, or I said that name wrong.
Ebsamaru.
Ebsamaru.
Yep.
And they do play both a little different. Like I think he hits a little fast. The old man hits a little faster than Goemon does.
Mm-hmm.
And was like little. I mean, I only played as Goemon at first because I'm like, well, Goemon's cool, so I'm only going to play as Goemon.
Character. Yeah.
So I mean, there was that, but little things. I was like, this is unique. Like very early in the game forces you to, unless you're a dirty speedrunner cheat, which you can skip. You have to get a version of the hook shot item, pretty much. But it's a chain pipe, which is kind of hilarious. Little things, and I'm like, this is cool. One thing that really got me the biggest smile on my face, I don't know if you caught this. What's that? Some of the enemies that shoot the little balls at you is the same exact sound effect as in Mystical Ninja for SNES when they shoot the balls.
Oh, geez, is that?
I played way too much Mystical Ninja apparently at some point in my life, because that when I heard that sound effect, my brain went ding. I'm like, oh, I didn't go and check it, but I'm 99% sure it's the same exact sound effect.
That did not click with me, but that's outstanding. And you know what? It doesn't surprise me though, given the history of this series and how kind of self-referential and goofy it is.
I mean, like, the enemies reminded me a lot of the enemies from, you know, the first game, like the game that not the first game, but the game that I played for Nintendo, the first one that we would have gotten.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you could tell that they reused enemies. Way late in this game, you run into the same, like, one scene in this game, you run into the same enemies from the end of Mystical Ninja when you find out that everything is fake that you're doing. And, like, it's the same mask. And I'm like, that is cool, because that felt like that was only there to be like, you played the SNES game? Here you go. Here, have something funny. Because it had nothing to do with the story. You never see it again. It wasn't referenced. It was just there. I'm like, that's the same mask, the same coat. You just took the sprites and put it in 3D.
Oh, man.
And I had the biggest smile on my face as I murdered them with my pipe.
And of course, during the course of the game, you do end up collecting a couple different characters as well to join your party.
And you had mentioned that before to me when we did Mystical Ninja. You mentioned, and I didn't care. I'm like, oh, I just want to play as Goemon. But I fell in love with the green-haired girl playing as her for once I got her, just because I think she played faster. I don't know, but maybe just killing people with katana was just cooler to me. I can't say. But I can say when you hit an enemy with a katana, she slices them in half versus them just blowing up as when Goemon hits them. I'm like, that little thing, I'm like, that's cool, man. That's cool that they did that.
Yes, Yai, I believe her name is Yai, Yae. I might be mispronouncing.
Close enough.
Yes, and then you get the little robot buddy who. Oh gosh, why am I blanking on his name?
I can't remember his name either.
Sasuke, right?
Yeah, he was in Mystical Ninja as a boss fight, and I was surprised, even though you had mentioned to me over a year ago, like, yeah, he's going to be playable, and I never thought much of him, but he also became my go-to later on in this game, just because I thought he moved faster. Yes. I don't know if that's true, but in my brain, I thought he moved faster.
No, I'm pretty sure he's I don't know if he's the fastest character, but yeah, he's definitely faster.
Okay, so it wasn't just me. It wasn't by much.
Right. Oh, man.
But also, killing enemies with a kunai was much cooler than hitting enemies with a pipe.
Also true.
There was that, too.
Oh.
But it's just like, it's kind of like, you think about it, I mean, kind of leaps and bounds. I mean, here you have 4 playable characters, all play a little bit different. The game forces you to use different ones, mainly just for items, and you can switch at any time, unlike Donkey Kong 64 at this time. So, I mean, you're like, oh, I need to use a chain pipe. Okay, I'll just hit the D-pad and switch to this character. Or, oh, I need to shrink down for a part. I'll just, press and switch to that character. Like, it was very nice about it. It wasn't stupid. It wasn't annoying. It was just, it made sense.
Yeah.
And didn't DK64 come out after this?
Oh, I'm sure.
So you think they could have been like, well, yeah, we could just do that too. Nope.
Yeah.
I also never played DK64. I've just seen enough of it to know how miserable that game can make a person. So,
Donkey Kong 64, just, ooh.
Yeah, it's
terrible.
on my list to someday get to, but it's far down that list.
Yeah, no. Donkey Kong 64 came out in 99. And this was 98 in the US.
And yeah, this game got it right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
this game makes you switch, especially later on in some of the dungeons. It makes you switch characters to have their different abilities, but it never handicaps you. It never makes you feel uncomfortable. It never makes you feel like, oh, I got to go find a freaking plate now and run back over here. It's just simple, and that's how it should be.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
This game got it right, and DK64 couldn't. But the humor in this game also was just hilarious. Like, you're fighting these foreigner people that came to Japan, and then they're trying to introduce dance or some kind of music or something to the world. So they're
it's a group of evil actors.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah, they're trying to turn the world into a giant stage for their musical performance in their giant flying peach, like you do.
And everybody's robots that you fight, just because that way you're not killing people, you're just killing robots.
Exactly.
You can't hit people though in the town. I did a couple times.
Yeah. Of course. I mean, it wouldn't be a Goemon game if you couldn't just smack the innocent people in the town. I mean, my goodness.
And some of the people in the town were the same. Like, they took the sprites from the Super Nintendo game and put it in 3D. Because there was a guy with a fish at one point I saw. There was There was a guy, look, he was going to steal from me. I think he might have. I'm like, it just made me smile that they copied it pretty well.
Oh,
You didn't have to. I mean, like those little things they did that just, because there's a good chance that a lot of people played this game probably didn't even play the Super Nintendo game, is my guess.
Yeah.
If this game even sold well in America, I don't know.
I mean, it had to have sold well enough for Konami to release the next Goemon game.
Yeah.
For the 64. So, I mean, it couldn't have done terribly.
No, they wouldn't have done it otherwise.
Yeah.
This is back when Konami actually made games, though, still. So.
Yeah.
I know we're getting back into that moment. They're finally like, oh, games? We have games? But
now you made me sad.
Hey, we're getting games now from Konami soon.
It's true.
We're getting a remake of Snake Eater.
Yeah.
And some other stuff coming out, so.
It is true.
They're finally learning that they have games and not just gambling machines, so that's nice.
Will we ever get a new Goemon game, though?
I don't know if I even want a new one. I just want a collection of all these old ones translated. Nope. That's all I want.
Oh man, you know what? Oh, here we go. Now I'm thinking, Digital Eclipse, they did such a good job with the Ninja Turtle collection. And we're speaking about Konami games here. They did such a good job bringing all those classic Konami Ninja Turtle games to their Cowabunga collection. Let's get a Goemon collection.
That would be great, because there's so many good. I mean, I'm sure there's so many good games there people have not experienced. Like, I mean, this game in general. If more, I mean, as we'll get to later on, when I asked for comments, I expected nothing, and tons of people responded to me going, "I love this game." I'm like, "What? People played this game?" I'm like,
"Look at that! My heart has been warmed." I love it.
There was something that I didn't catch. Like, I didn't catch right away that everybody was robots that you're fighting, because of the idea that you're, they didn't want you killing things.
Right.
And it didn't click right away. And this game was pretty forgiving when it came to health items too. I mean, at first I thought it was kind of like, okay, there's not enough health items, but then as I understood the way the game played, once you found a pot in a dungeon that gave you health, you could just open a door, close the door, go back in and forth, and fill up your health whenever you needed to.
Yeah.
Like, it was forgiving enough that had I been playing this game legit, I could have used that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I wasn't. But I didn't have to worry about that. But it was friendly enough in that aspect of doing it. So I'm like, okay, I appreciate that.
Yes.
And the game rewards you a lot for exploring, because you do get, the extra cats that boost your health. You a lot of things like that where it made it worth your time to do more. And I'm like, that's cool, because if you were having a problem with the game would help you, become more powerful, so the game became easier. And it really furthered that exploring. And there's a lot to look at. I mean, the towns are bigger than they felt they needed to be, but it's cool that they are. You can just run around these different towns that you go through throughout the game, and there's people to talk to that say nonsense and sell you stuff. I mean, and also this is an older game where if you don't talk to a certain person at different times, you do not progress the game. I found
That's
out
true.
right away.
Yeah, that is definitely an old school kind of game design mechanic where areas are locked off unless you talk to the right person, and then suddenly they are available to go to these new areas.
Because there's one part where you have to get a shrinking potion, and if you don't talk to an NPC in a coffee house, which is like an inn essentially, the guy that you need to talk to that's shrunk down will not be shrunk down.
Yeah.
And I found that out the hard way. I'm like, what the hell? And I'm like, oh, that's because I skipped a sentence in this walkthrough.
Yeah.
I went in the house, but I didn't talk to anybody. I just left. But if you don't talk to the one person that tells you something about the shrinking or tells you how they can't get through because the hole is too big, you cannot do it.
Yep. Hey, look, they didn't design these games thinking that you were going to be watching walkthrough videos or sitting there with a FAQ or something.
No, that's fine. Like, it doesn't bother me when it's older games. It does bother me in newer games when they do it, just because I'm like, we move past that. But that's just fine for back in the day.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like how this game also has, like, early on, right after the first dungeon, you see the king that you rescued from the first game and his daughter. Like, I thought that, or I keep saying first game, but it's not, but it is for America.
First game here in the West. I think we understand that.
I know. I just feel like I'm being disrespectful to the Goemon. I liked it. It made me happy to see that they did recurring characters, have a little bit of that, but mostly this is such a different game.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like the Goemon series, they like those characters, like the king and his daughter, they show up in a lot of the games and stuff. I mean, there was I don't know if you remember this. There was actually a Goemon anime.
I did not even know there was one.
There's a Goemon anime, and it actually got a Western release.
Wow.
Back in late 90s, early aughts. Well, you know what? Probably around the time of this game, because I think they may have called the anime Mystical Ninja starring Goemon or just Mystical Ninja. So it was certainly meant to like kind of tie into this game. But yeah, it got a domestic release over here, and like all those characters are in the game or in the anime as well. So
that's really cool. Yeah, I never even knew there was an anime. See, it didn't air on Toonami at the time. So I didn't know
I don't know. I don't know if it got any. I don't know if it aired anywhere. They released DVDs certainly every month or two. A new volume of the DVDs would come out. So I don't know if it ever aired anywhere.
$30 for 2 episodes back then. Whatever the ridiculousness it was for anime at that time.
Man, yeah, it was.
That's why I didn't buy anime as a kid.
Exactly. Well, yeah, it was very expensive back then to do that, unfortunately. But yeah, that was kind of like the early heyday of when anime was like just starting to like really take off here in the U.S.
I'm definitely curious now to watch it. Yeah, I'm sure it's not good, but I'm curious.
It's not great. It's not great, but it exists. So
I'm come to conclude I'm okay with that. I'm okay with things existing for the most part. The only time I ever get mad is when there's a game that comes out for the PS3, let's say, for example, then gets re-released in the PS4 and then remade again for the PS5. Then I get a little irritated. But other than that, I'm okay. It doesn't bother me. You're like, yeah, sure. If you want to keep, remake things that exist, that's fine.
Yeah.
I haven't played Last of Us for PS4 or PS5, but just the fact that I'm like, you have so many other great things you could do, and you're just like, yeah, Naughty Dog, yeah, we know you. Here, just keep making these.
Although the PS5 Last of Us is really good.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where I'm like, man, you can do other things, can't you? So
I get it. You played that game already. I understand.
Yeah. I only played the PS3 version. I didn't like it a whole lot, but
right.
I don't like really dark games either. I like my games to be happy. That's why like this game grabbed me, because this game is so happy and uplifting, and it doesn't make me sad ever.
You didn't think Last of Us was?
So I haven't played Last of Us 2, but I know enough.
Well, let me tell you this. In Last of Us 2, there is a moment where Ellie does get beamed up into a giant robot while an anime song plays, and she fights zombies in her giant mech. So
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, maybe that game's a little more lighthearted than you assumed.
I would be completely okay with that. Hey, it can be a fever dream because she ate some spores and she's just tripping. That's completely fine. I'm completely fine with that. Hey, sometimes you need that. Like one thing in this game did that I thought was hilarious. It's meant to kind of be a sad, like you think the old man died, and you find out later on he's just been chilling.
Oh yeah,
at this town this whole time with a bunch of women and stuff. And I think it's supposed to be kind of like a brothel he's at. It felt like.
Yeah.
Had this came out in Japan and not America, it would probably been a brothel. So.
Yes. Oh.
I did find it interesting how like with Yang when you're not Yang. What is the name of the little robot guy? I know you said it. Like
the robot.
Yeah.
The robot is Sasuke.
Sasuke. When you get him, like you don't get him right away. You get part of him, then you have to go find these 2 batteries throughout the game, and then you finally get to play as him. And the fact that they gave each character a couple different items, I thought was really cool. Like to give you a reason to use other characters.
Mm-hmm.
But since you brought up the robot, we can talk about that. That I was not expecting a giant robot.
Goemon Impact.
I knew of it. Yes. But I was not expecting this song to start playing and everything else to come along with it. I was like, all right, that was unexpected.
It's and you know what? They so for those who don't know, at a few points throughout this game, and like we were saying, it's kind of a 3D platformer adventure game for the most part, but every now and again it will get to a part where Goemon busts out a big like conch shell and blows into it to summon the giant mech Goemon Impact, which kind of looks like a robotic version of Goemon. And at
least he doesn't blow into his flute. It looks like a dagger with his mask on. So hey, there's that. But it's 100% what it is.
I wouldn't put it past him.
It's 100% a Power Ranger. Well, I shouldn't say Power Ranger. It's more of, God, I know the word. Sentai?
Sentai is like Power Ranger. The Power Rangers is Super Sentai in Japan. But yeah, it's like a one of the giant fighting robots. Giant Robo or Big O or Mazinger Z or any of those. And yeah, he gets beamed up into it as a theme song plays with, complete with lyrics.
It's pretty funny.
And and you spend a level just kind of going through, smashing through stuff. And then
I didn't understand the purpose of the side scroll levels. Like I saw there's a bar that like moves up or down, and I didn't understand what I was supposed to do.
I think it's like if, as you destroy stuff, because you're crashing through buildings and mountains and stuff like that. And it kind of like builds up your strength for when you reach the boss encounter at the end, which is, it's all a first person perspective. Like you're in the cockpit of the robot at this point. But yeah, it's basically just like, smash things to build up your health. And then, and if there's like obstacles, I think like maybe you got to like dodge like mountains and things like that. But like
and ropes, and because they trip your mech and then you fall and then he spins out.
Exactly. But yeah, the more like breakable objects you smash, the higher your health is going to be once you reach the boss fight.
Okay, that's cool. I was wondering how that worked. I also was not a fan of these fights, but I'm realizing now that I'm watching a speedrun while we're talking, I was doing them completely wrong.
Oh, okay.
Because it took me forever. I'm like, God, I'm only doing it. This guy has like 2,000 health, and if I get one good hit, I do 100. I'm like, this is, and most of the time I'm hitting him with coin, doing like 5 damage from 2,000 is not much.
Right.
And I'm like, God, this is taking way too long. And I just watched a speedrun of it, and he did like a multi-punch. We took out like 500 health in one shot, hitting this guy.
Yeah. And I
did not do any of that.
You can use your hook shot to like, snag them and pull them in towards you, and then do the fury punches.
Oh, I did the hook shot, but I only used the hook shot to disable when they were about to do certain attacks I didn't want to deal with. I'd hit them with the hook shot, and then it would disable that attack.
Okay.
I didn't know that because I was like, this is taking way too long. This is ridiculously long.
No, yeah, you can do like a scorpion get over here kind of thing to drag them over to you to set them up for counterattacks and stuff like that. So
I would have enjoyed it a lot more, because I was wondering why these fights were so long and hard and annoying when the other boss fights in this game are fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm glad to see it's not a game error, it's a player error. I'm okay with that. I'm completely okay with player error, which is something where it's there, I just wasn't hitting the right buttons or whatever then.
This is why video games used to come with instruction manuals.
Yeah, it's weird. My copy didn't. Huh. I'm sure I could have found a version of it, but Also, this is a great game to play on the Steam Deck, by the way.
Oh, is it?
It was. It was great to have handheld, just be sitting in my car waiting for my wife somewhere and just playing Goemon.
Nice. And
Steam Deck emulates 64 really well, by the way, too. So.
Oh, does it? Oh, good.
Which is nice, because I've had issues with 64 emulation before.
Oh, yeah.
So much where I had to buy Pokemon Snap on the Wii U to play it because I couldn't get it emulated.
I fully support you purchasing Pokemon games.
I do too. Like in general, I try to purchase if I can buy a game, I will buy a game and then pirate it just because I want save states. But if you can sell it to me, especially on Steam, I will buy said game. Just be like, I want to support it, even if I don't want to play it that way. But it was more of I didn't want to buy in the Wii U because it's like fuck the Wii U type of thing. Because this wasn't that long ago.
Right.
That's different. But no, if I could buy Pokemon Snap on Steam in a heartbeat, I would. But that's a different thing.
You know what? Talking about Impact, and more specifically the Impact theme song, one of the things that immediately strikes you with this game when you first turn it on is the intro has a theme song as well. This game has a lot of music, and by a lot of music I mean like a lot of like musical numbers. Where you're listening to songs with lyrics, and they're all in Japanese and they're all subtitled, but it again kind of sets that kind of goofy, lighthearted mood. But the thing I wanted to point out was that like the opening theme song during the game's intro, where it's excitedly singing about Goemon, that theme song, like they went all out, and by they I mean Konami went all out with this game and specifically the music. That title theme for this game is performed by, and I had to look up his name, but that opening song is performed by Hironobu Kageyama, who, here in the US, nobody knows who that is, of course.
No, I have no idea.
But over in Japan, he is very famous. He is referred to as the prince of anime and tokusatsu songs, because he sings tons of theme songs for like anime and tokusatsu shows. Like the probably the biggest one, maybe certainly the one that would probably be most well known to people in the West, was he sang the theme song to Dragon Ball Z.
Oh, that I do know.
Head Chala.
I know the song barely.
Yeah, Chala Head Chala. That was that guy, and then they hired him to sing the theme song to the Goemon game, and the Impact song, the song that plays during those sequences where you, because they do this whole elaborate again straight out of like a Voltron show or something, where the robot is, you're getting all these dramatic shots of the robot gears kind of springing to life and stuff like that. But that song is performed by Ichiro Mizuki, who again also did a lot of he did some theme songs for some Kamen Rider shows. Great Mazinger, Captain Harlock anime, Mazinger Z. So yeah, he's also like a very famous anime and tokusatsu theme song performer. So
that's pretty cool. I didn't realize I didn't realize that at all, but that's cool. I mean, I like that they didn't translate; they just left it in Japanese because it doesn't need to be translated. The humor of it is there just fine.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I honestly, I mean, it's one of those kind of happy coincidences kind of thing where I'm sure a big portion of them not translating it was a budget thing.
Oh, I'm sure it was too.
But also, I think it services the game better. It services the game's world better.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they have it in English translation and in text, which is good enough. You can read the lyrics. But like, for example, Outlaw Star, I can still sing Kimedaki, Dumedaki. I mean, I used to know what it meant in English, but like, it doesn't matter. Music is fine. Music can transfer in any language. It just, you might not understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
You can still enjoy the music.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah,
so the Impact stuff was, now that I know how much I was screwing up, I think I would have greatly appreciated the Impact stuff way more, where every time it came, I'm like, oh, damn, here we go again. Another boss fight. Again,
and it is, and they use that sparingly. I think there's 3 Impact sequences in the game.
There's, underwater boss fight, a boss fight with a boss that looked like he was from Mystical Ninja for Super Nintendo, and then the final boss fights.
Yeah. Because there's one they give you one very early in the game, just to kind of like introduce it to you and just be like, this is what this game is about. This game has giant robot sequences, and then you go the rest of the game just normal. But then kind of towards the end they bring up a couple more Impact sequences for you. Is kind of a treat.
It doesn't overstay its welcome.
No,
I will say that. Like, there's enough of it, but there isn't more to the point where you're like, screw this. Like, he didn't do that.
Yeah, if you like, if every stage, I mean, not that this game has like levels or anything.
It has 4 dungeons that you go to.
Yeah, I mean, yes, there's certainly, I mean, well, you know what? At the end of like dungeons, if like every dungeon ended with an Impact fight, it wouldn't have the same impact. Well,
I guess there's 5 dungeons if you count the final one. So.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I mean, there's 3 fights that you do throughout the game, but they don't feel. It definitely didn't overstay its welcome. Now that I'm doing the math, I'm like, well, it seems like there's more, but they're far enough apart that you're okay with it.
Right.
So it didn't bother me that they had them. I mean, it irritated me a little bit because I'm like, I don't want to do this because it takes too long and I suck at it and I have to save state constantly. But now I find out because I was doing completely wrong.
Hey,
So that's why I had to like not get hit by any moves, because I'm like, God, this takes forever because I didn't do the combos that you're supposed to do. And I guarantee you someone mentions it somewhere too in this game. I would not be surprised.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talking in this game. There's a lot of NPCs that will tell you random stuff that, again, I ignored them, but I also didn't realize how you save in this game legitly by going to coffee shops and talking to someone there or going to inns. I didn't even find out inns existed till way late in this game.
Oh, man.
Again, didn't have to.
Yeah, true.
It wasn't until the final area I found out, you can buy armor so you take less damage. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I didn't find that out either, so...
But you got through it.
Yeah, I mean, I was cheating, so it wasn't an issue. But I'm glad that it had a lot of things that would have made the game easier for somebody who would have played this back in the day.
Right.
Making it. I always appreciate when games find ways to make a game easier, not make you have to be like extremely good and do a part, perfect every time for way longer than you should, like a Ninja Gaiden type game or something of that nature.
Yeah.
Like, I'm glad that when games are like got friendlier. That's as a person. I love when games get friendlier as time progressed.
Absolutely.
And even though I'd like, because I'm watching the speedrun right now where they went to some place I never went to, I felt like I got enough hearts in this game just by playing through the game, exploring and enjoying it, that like I didn't feel like, even had I not been cheating, I didn't feel like it would have been impossible to beat.
Yeah.
Because the fights weren't that hard. Health was present enough. Even enemies drop health sometimes. Not enough in my opinion, but it was enough, I'm sure. Just
right.
I like health like all the time. Because again, I'm that type of gamer that wants the game to be very easy. So
hey, I'm right there with you.
That's just, gaming for me. I fell in love with gaming even more when I got the 360 era. I'm like, oh, you're giving me checkpoints every time I turn around. All right, awesome, I'm in. Because that's kind of where we're at now, and I love it, and I never want to go back.
Yeah.
No, I mean this game was beautiful too. And for the fact this is 64 games are ugly. I mean, this game is ugly for 2023, but like for a 64 game, I thought this game was actually pretty cool looking.
No, it looks pretty darn good. For again, N64 is not a system that holds up really well visually, but this game still looks pretty okay.
Yeah, it didn't hurt my eye.
I think a lot of that has to do with just the style that they adopted, and they kept it nice and cartoony. It's it's kind of the same effect that the Mega Man Legends games have, which for the PlayStation, the PS1.
Oh yeah,
those games are very low poly count. And, you look at a lot of early 3D PS1 games, and they're really tough to look at these days. I mean,
oh, yes, they are.
You look, I mean, even like Metal Gear Solid, which, obviously a classic game. It's, it has a pretty distinctive visual style, but it's not the easiest game to look at these days.
No,
but
there are some that did not age well.
Yeah. But you look at like the Mega Man Legends games, and yeah, they're really low poly and everything, but they still look really good because they took it, they played to the strengths of the low polygon count, and the texture work that they used on those polygons, big expressive features, bright colors, very defined shapes and everything. So those games still look, the style is still really kind of appealing despite being, technically limited. And I think Goemon here does the same thing. And it's really effective.
The cartoony style works a lot.
Absolutely.
Like there was one part where you have to climb in the back of a dragon, and that amused me a lot. For some reason, it made me think of Dragon Ball, original Dragon Ball, when he gets Dragon Ball Z, when he gets killed and he has to walk the dragon road. Yeah. I don't know why, but that's what went through my head.
Well, I'm assuming that the reason why is because that I'm like 99% sure that was a very deliberate reference.
Yeah, I'm sure it was too. But that's what I thought. I'm like, huh. It just went
again, Konami hired the guy who sang the Dragon Ball Z theme song.
Yeah, that's the reason why I thought of it now too. So I'm like,
Also, remember later in the game when Goemon gets his like strength enhancement, where he can.
Oh yeah,
he goes Super Saiyan.
That when that first happened, I laughed. I was when all of a sudden you had to do it to move a block, and his hair goes gold and stands up. I'm like, okay, That's fucking hilarious, guys. Like, bravo.
So yeah, running along the back of a super long serpentine dragon. Yeah, that's absolutely a reference to the Dragon Ball.
It was just so much humor in this game and so much little things, and this game even gives you a fast travel, which again, not all games do at this time. Like when you get the blue dragon, then you can teleport from city to city. I mean, sure, you got to watch a little cutscene, but I mean, how many 64 games had fast travel at this time?
That's true.
I mean, you don't have as many, open world adventure type games, but like, to have that fast travel is a really nice thing. And they also make it even funnier. They're like, yeah, I mean, because the old guy's like, oh, I can play it. They're like, no, we don't trust you. We'll give it to the girl instead. Like, just little things that didn't need to be in the game that work, and the humor is just hilarious.
Yep.
And it gives you enough fast travel points too. Like, it's not chintzy where you can go. You can travel to a lot of places to do what you got to do, and nothing's ever that far from a fast travel. And I appreciated that from a game standpoint. They did that.
Yes.
I mean, it had a few quality of life things for a game from the 64 era.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the bosses were creative enough. I mean, they were all pretty simple to figure out what to do. Like, hit them when they start glowing red or something. Hit them in the glowing red spot or something of that, which I'm fine with in that era.
Right.
But they were all decent. I didn't have a problem with any of the boss fights.
Yeah. Oh man.
Just the impact stuff I had a problem with, but again, now I know why. I can't believe I tried to figure out too. I was hitting buttons, but
yeah,
I was hitting buttons correctly apparently.
I mean, it's one of those things where if you didn't have a manual to kind of explain that, because that game mode, these first person battles that you only do like 3 times during the game, they are so very different from what you were playing before, and the game doesn't explain any of it to you in the game.
No, but that's kind of how games were at the time, though, too, because they had an instruction book. So why tell you in the game when you can just read it?
Exactly.
Why pay someone to program it when you can just pay someone to write it? I mean, it's easier and cheaper. So
it's true,
and it doesn't take away from the experience. I mean, this is before we brought Metal Gear, where Metal Gear is like press the action button to talk. Like, it's a different time.
Yeah. Snake, you gotta press the Y button to talk.
So you don't have that.
Yeah.
I mean, you also get cool abilities that don't really serve a purpose that much, but are there. Like, you get the fire ability when you give money to the greedy god or something.
Oh,
money
yeah.
God. Like, I know I used it once when the game made me, but never used it again. But, like, I mean, I'm still happy that all that stuff was there. I'm happy that every character got a different spell of some sort. And Ye gets a freaking rocket launcher at one point. Yep. I never used it, but I was like, okay, cool.
It's there.
I didn't use her I used her a lot. And when I got Sasuke, I used him a ton because I just liked the way he played.
Yeah.
Which I did not expect to like him as much as I did.
Okay.
I would switch between the two just because I like the way I like the way the girl played too. I'm like, okay, and I just love how she pulls out her katana and just slices people up. I'm like, this is awesome.
And then she also has the ability to turn into a mermaid.
Oh yeah, and that reminds me, it now has been 2 games. If I had a nickel for every time I played a game where you transfer into a mermaid on this podcast in the last 2 months, I'd have 2 nickels, which is very strange. It's happened twice in within 2 months. Oracle of Ages did the same thing.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Months, but
that's right.
That wasn't terrible in this game.
Yeah.
It actually, underwater stuff was actually okay in this game, and you could actually hurt enemies underwater, which I did not find out until the very end of the underwater stuff.
Yeah, underwater stuff in games is so hit and miss. That it's usually whenever I get into an underwater area of a game, even modern games, I'm always just kind of like, oh, God, I got to go through this now. It's usually a pain, but yeah, it's not too bad here.
No, it wasn't terrible. Like, I was like, this is actually kind of fun.
Yeah.
And I wasn't crazy about all the mini games you had to do in order to get abilities. I mean, but that's fine.
Yeah.
The one to get the shrink ability was really stupid, where you had to like hide from this big face that looked like he was from Earthbound that kept staring at you and then would throw bombs at you. That was annoying.
But it was a neat. I like the change of perspective where you were tiny little Epsimaru hiding in this giant cabinet.
Yeah, it's creative. I mean, they weren't bad. Had I played this in the 64, I would have enjoyed them more.
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah.
They were cool. Now I still appreciate when games do different things to switch up the gameplay.
Yes.
I don't remember what some of the other ones were. I know the mermaid one, you had to like swim up the waterfall, which that was fine.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to remember what some of the other ones were too.
There's the jetpack you get for Sasuke.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Whatever that name is. That was fun. I don't remember the mini game. I just remember the jetpack was fine. Oh, there's a balloon game where you got to like hit these things to stop them from popping balloons, and that was miserable.
Yes.
You have 5 different things that are like rising up to pop a balloon. You have to like move your camera around and keep throwing hammers at them to keep them from rising all the way up. And
that's right.
It was very, very annoying and used a lot of save states to get me to do it right. Because you only see a couple at a time, and they would go fast before you even saw it coming. I did not like that game. But it's fine. I mean, they're one-time things. You do them once, you unlimited amount of tries. Like, it didn't punish you. It didn't say, okay, now you got to pay us money to try again. Like, it just said, okay, here you go. Just keep trying until you get it right.
Yeah.
So that's fine. And that fits a 64 game. And they were annoying, but they weren't overly challenging for what they are. So it was fine. I forgot about some of that. Like, I know at one point you get ice daggers for Sasuke, which are only used in a couple parts, but still cool. I mean, you would freeze enemies, and that was
yes, yeah. They this game's got a pretty healthy amount of variety in it.
Yeah, and the controls were solid.
Yeah,
I didn't have issue with the jumping. Everything felt pretty solid for this era.
Mm-hmm.
which is, not bad.
The camera can be a little tricky at times, but
okay, the camera was, but then again, like, cameras just weren't, they didn't have the cameras down yet at this time.
Well, that's just it. Yeah. I mean,
Mario 64 cameras, better, but it's still atrocious at times.
Right.
It wasn't until Ocarina of Time and they figure, okay, press X, press the Z and you can then do the Z targeting or move the camera behind you. Like, that wasn't a thing yet. So,
right.
I mean, there were times when I tried to move the camera and go, oh, yeah, sorry, wrong game. You're not playing the, wrong era. But that's fine. Like, it didn't take away from the experience for me. The game would usually end up putting the camera where I could see what I was doing. And had I, played this game in 98 and not, 2023, it wouldn't have bothered me. I wouldn't have known any better.
Yeah, exactly.
There's that, too. So I can give it that. Yeah, I can't complain for a game for not having quality of life features that I expect in, 20 years later.
Yeah, exactly.
So I always try to judge a game on just how it feels when you play it or replay it, and it felt good. Like, I didn't have problems with this game. At first I didn't want to start it. I was very reluctant to start. I'm like, oh, it's an N64 game. It's going to be, stupid. It's going to be junk at times. And as I got into this game, I didn't want to stop playing. I'm like, this is a ton of fun.
Yeah, it's surprisingly good, and not a lot of people know it, unfortunately.
No, I've never really heard a lot of people talk about it either.
Yeah, again, it's not from a franchise that has a huge following here in the West, and it's certainly on the system that it is on has been overshadowed by like Mario or Zelda, the big games. As a whole, third-party games don't get a lot of recognition on N64, and certainly part of that is that there aren't a lot of very good third-party games on the 64.
No, there's not.
But every now and again there is, and this is one of them. But everyone's too busy remembering all the Nintendo stuff or all the Rare stuff, which at the time was like a second party, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is kind of a forgotten, gem on the system, and it doesn't help that there is no, legal way to play it on modern systems.
No,
game has not been made available again.
No, it sucks because it really should be. And even like another thing I just want to, before we go there, another thing I want to bring up, like the platforming. As this game progresses, it has more challenging platforming, but none of it felt unbearable either. Yeah. As long as you're not stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it wasn't like you had to be like perfect time. You just had to be patient sometimes.
Yes.
But to go on to what you just said, I do want to mention that. Like, it sucks that there's no way to play this legally because a lot of people won't experience it. I mean, I didn't even experience this because I don't like N64 emulation. I love Mystical Ninja of Super Nintendo, and I've heard you talk about this game, and I've been curious, but I'm like, I don't want to deal with 64 emulation, so I'm just not going to bother.
Right.
And there's a lot of people out there that will never experience this game until it gets re-released. And then like we talked about earlier, if they brought this on a collection, people would buy it at some point.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, so many of like the, big first party N64 games are pretty readily available these days, all things considered, between like the Switch Online and...
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Just put this in the Switch Online if they could. Like, that would be enough to get people to play it, but I guess that, they wouldn't make money off it, really, then.
Yeah, I mean,
I get it, but...
Yeah, but, geez, yeah, now... I'm just so used to, like, the Switch Online just being, again, like the first-party stuff, where, it's like, I mean... I don't think there's anything stopping them from putting this up there. I mean, I have no idea what they would have to do in terms of talking to Konami or whatever, but if they'd have to pay like licensing fees or anything like that, I have no idea.
I mean, I'm sure there's a bunch of licensing that would be in there that why this game has never been. Well, partly why this game never been released. Part of it is just Konami that is in the title, so there's that too.
Yeah. So.
I mean, I almost forgot to mention this, but there's a boss that's a freaking reference to the first boss in Mystical Ninja where it has like even throws the spinning disc at you have to knock back.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, and that's one of the late game bosses, right? If I remember correctly.
Yeah, it is. It's I think the third dungeon or so.
Okay.
Because the fourth dungeon is the submarine, which was cool.
That's right. Yeah, it's so much fun.
Yeah, no, it's a surprisingly really good 64 game. But no, I would love to see this come out again. Like, and when you mentioned the fact of a collection, I would love a collection because I've never experienced the other Super Nintendo games that I would love to play. I haven't, and I know it was a PS2 game that never came to America. Like, I don't,
Yeah.
I know that'd be asking a lot from them to translate everything and bring it, but I would be happy as hell. But
Yeah.
like, just even if they just release some of the stuff and put it in a collection, the stuff that already came to America, already translated, find a way just to, emulate it and throw it on throw it up for sale.
Mm-hmm.
But my guess is there's probably are licensing fees because Goemon isn't owned by Konami. It's owned by just whoever, or maybe it's even like public domain by this point for them.
Oh, I can't imagine that's the case. I'm
don't
sure.
think so?
I'm sure Konami still has the rights for this.
Yeah, I mean for the games, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I was thinking, I know Goemon's based on a real person.
True, but yeah, I mean, it's so fictionalized.
Yeah.
That, yeah. I mean, what's funny is the real life person that the real life Goemon that these games are obviously very loosely inspired by is also playable in the Samurai Warriors games from Koei.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I don't think he's in all of them, but in a few of the Samurai Warriors games, you can play as Ishikawa Goemon, who was a legendary thief in Japanese history.
Who got killed with oil?
Yes, he was boiled.
I just
was boiled alive.
I hate that idea of that's how you have all these ways to kill people. Like just there's
right,
and that's the way you go. Like just stab them. Just make it simple. Shoot them with an arrow. Like why?
Yes. No, he was boiled. I mean, I have no idea if this is. I mean, that's the legend. I don't know if this is actually.
I mean, it did happen to people. That's proof.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I mean, I was watching The Two Doors, which I don't recommend that show, but at one point, and there's a scene where a guy tried to poison the king because he was hired to, and they boiled him alive in oil.
Oof a doof.
And I'm just like, no, just shoot. I mean, at this point, it's like just shoot the guy. Hang him at least, like But I guess you got to get a point across. It's
to deter future people from doing the same thing.
And humans are terrible.
Oh, well, there's obviously that. We knew that. My goodness. Thankfully, that doesn't happen in this game.
No, this game is nice and friendly and not terrible. And like even the MacGuffins of having to collect the 4 mystic items, it's enough. Like it isn't too many of an items. Yep. It isn't like, oh, we got to go do all this. Like it's enough where you enjoy it. And there's even the humor of the 4th one where like, yeah, I dropped it somewhere else, but we're gonna fight anyway.
Yeah.
That amused me actually. At first I'm like, oh, that's stupid. Then when I actually played it, I'm like, okay, that's hilarious. And they call you the wrong name the whole game. The villains call you Fernandin or
Fernando, I think, or Fernando. Yeah,
one of those.
Yeah, the villain who can't be bothered to remember your name, but gives you a nickname just because he likes the sound of it.
It was funny.
It's a funny little game.
It was a lot better, and I mean, even like the sub dungeon was kind of fun. I like that. There's like you go to Ice Mountain at one point, and the game makes you do a little bit of backtracking. They even upgrade your weapons throughout the game, which I appreciated that now my weapons are stronger, so I can break things I couldn't break earlier for story reasons. Like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
It wasn't a bad thing, and it was a nice feature.
Yes. Oh man, isn't it in the submarine where you're fighting like food and stuff like that as well?
Yes.
Yeah, where there's like living sushi that you're battling, and I think at one point aren't you swimming through like miso soup or something?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, where you're swimming and there's this
there's just food in there. Yeah,
chunks of seaweed or like circles of sliced onions.
I did not catch that. That's what we were doing, but yes, you are right.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a sub dungeon or the last dungeon, but you definitely do swim through soup at one point.
Yeah. Oh man.
I mean, it works. It works for the humor of the game and what they were going for, and I was never bored. I can say that throughout this entire playthrough, I was never once bored with this game.
No. How could you be? How could you be?
I also explored a decent amount. I didn't get full hearts, but I had a decent amount of hearts by the time I finished this game.
Okay, good.
And that was not really even using a guide. I was just kind of playing through. I mean, I had a guide, yes, but it wasn't a guide that told me where everything was. It was just more of me just kind of like, oh, I see this item. I'm going to get this item.
Right.
And I would go through out of my way to get said item.
Good.
So a random question, but when I was playing this, there's the one guard that won't let you cross a bridge at one point until you throw a log at him and break his Achilles heel.
Yes.
It's humorous. Is it just me, or he really looked like he was from Brave Fencer Musashi? I know it's a deep cut here, but
gosh, yeah. I mean,
I don't know if you played that game anytime recently.
I did play it back on the PS1. I absolutely did play it on the PS1, and it's a very good game.
That's what it reminded me of. Just the way he looked reminded me of Brave Fencer Musashi.
I could see it. Oh,
we haven't talked about the weird-ass alien that you have to talk to at one point in this game, Plasma, the fortune teller.
Oh, Plasma!
That is fucking strange.
Oh, man. Let me tell you, this game, I fell in love with it back on the N64 back when it was originally released. And my girlfriend at the time, who, is my wife currently, I got her into this game. I showed this game to her back because we were dating at the time. I was like, you got to check out this game. It's outstanding. And she got super hooked on it. She actually ended up playing through this game a few times back in the day as well. And for the longest time, Plasma Man was a long running in joke between the two of us. We'd be out at dinner or something, and I would just randomly just yell out Plasma. She would just start cracking up, and people are looking at us like we're idiots, which we were.
Part of the fun, though.
But yes. Oh yeah. But Plasma, it will tell you your fortune for a few coins, or you have to go to him towards the end for.
Yeah, you have to talk to him at least once.
Yeah.
To make the game progress.
Yes. But yeah, it's so weird. You go into his lair, and he's got these giant like oiled up muscle dudes dancing around him.
So and weird. It's so Japanese.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And he screams out Plasma, and with a voice sample.
Impressive for this era.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, this game does not skimp on vocal effects, considering it has 3 songs in the game. You got the opening theme song.
There's the ending song, I think, too.
All the lyrics, yeah, and you got the I Am Impact, and then Gorgeous My Stage, which is the song you get towards the end of the game when you're about to fight the final bosses. Is it? Yeah, I think I think it's just those 3 songs. Yeah,
I think so. I did have sound on for this entire game just because I had to, because it was amusing me.
Yeah,
the music is also great in this game too, just in general.
Yeah, I mean, not even talking about the lyric.
No, just the music, and some of the music felt straight from the Super Nintendo game, like adjusted a bit, but I could tell you copied some of this stuff.
Yes.
I have played a Super Nintendo game way more than I realized in my life to find out how much brain space it had in there. That, again, I don't think about that game often, but when I heard the music or heard certain things, I'm like, oh, yep, that's from that game. Like my brain just knew. I'm like, oh, wow.
Yeah, that's one of the nice things about this series is it's very much, no matter what system you're playing it on, a Goemon game is going to feel like a Goemon game, and a lot of that is because the music always has that that kind of that very Japanese feel to it.
Yeah,
and it's it's usually pretty lighthearted and bubbly.
Very perky.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And Kyle, you made it. We have a third person that joined. I did not realize you were even here. Can you hear me?
Yes. Sorry about that. My schedule got a little mixed up, and when I realized what time it was, I was like, oh my God, good job me. I'm super late. So,
hey, it's just like in the game. You just join midway through the game.
Yes, exactly. Well, sorry, okay, I'll tell you, I'm really embarrassed. Okay, I wanted to go get some lunch, and I wanted to get free lunch, so I tried to do a sexy hypnotic dance, and I really pissed off the restaurant owner. I really pissed him off with my sexy hypnotic dance, and I'm banned for life from the restaurant. And
I'll take it.
And then I had to go home and get changed because I was only wearing, a little strap-on thing, and yeah.
Well, welcome. Hey, you made it. That's what matters. I was so confused. I was like, wait a second, I didn't even realize you joined the chat. So I was very confused. Which also fits the theme of this game. I was also very confused while playing this game. I was happy. Happily enjoyed it, but very, very confused.
Oh, yeah.
And I think we have touched on most things in this game at this point. Kyle, do you have some things that you want to mention? Like when we talked about the bosses, music. I mean, but
but I also actually have a little confession with this game.
Sure.
I might actually surprise some people, or maybe shock some people, or maybe even make some people a little mad. This is actually my favorite N64 game of all time. Like, I love Mario 64. I love Banjo-Kazooie. I love Zelda Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. And, like, I love all the acclaimed classics of the N64, like Paper Mario. Like, I love all those games. But this is easily my favorite game of the N64. I love this game so much.
I mean, I'm not going to argue with you about it.
It's so charming. It's so cute. It's so funny. Like, this, I also have to give a big shout out to the director of this game, Etsunobu Ebisu, who went on to create the game dev company Goodfeel. I know that this is one of his big crowning achievements at Konami, and I love what he did with this game. This game is just so charming. I love exploring this game. I love traveling the world of it. This game is just hook, line, and sinker for me. I love it so much.
No, I mean, I can, before I would have played this, I would not have understood why anybody would have said this is their favorite N64 game. After experiencing it, I completely get it. It's not mine, because that's probably, I'm a Zelda freak. And I love Zelda.
No, the Zeldas
a lot, but
yeah.
I can see it, like, a long time ago. It feels like a long time ago at this point. Phil had made a comment about this game in Ocarina of Time, how this game did things first. And I was like, okay. And then when I was playing through it, that was always in my head, thinking about, Ocarina and thinking about this game. And I completely can see it. Yeah. Like, this takes so much stuff Ocarina takes stuff from it that it does later on. I'm like, okay. It came out only 6 months later in America, but still, like, it has that same feeling, like, then this game did it first. So. Different type of game, and probably much less of a budget than Ocarina had.
No, of course, but, like, I don't know, like, I think this game just has such a charm to it. I think it's very Zelda-light, but it's not so much that I feel like this game is better than Zelda as much as I say that, like, this is my favorite game, but, like, I just feel like the way this game, like, developed itself was just so well done. Like, it has that, the exploration in this game is really fun. It's so charming. I love all the castles in the game. I love how much, like, you really feel like you're exploring Japan in this game. You don't just feel like you're just going through, like, Tokyo and that's it. Like, you feel like you're going, like, you're going way down south in Japan. You feel like you're going west in Japan. You feel like you're really going up north in Japan. Like, you feel like you're going to Hokkaido. You feel like you're, you really feel like you're actually exploring Japan in this. And I love that.
See, Phil, I found other people that love this game too.
Well, see, as well they should.
And the funny thing is, there was another friend of mine who wanted to come on this too, but the timing didn't work out because he just bought a house and he's moving. And it was like, I was like, people love this game? I'm like, what? Before we did this, I was like, what? Strange. I just didn't.
No, I can totally get that. I feel like maybe if you just watch a YouTube video about this game, you may not like get it. But I feel like if you actually play it for a little while, like, I feel like that's when you might get it. Like, you just really experience this game for yourself.
You
like,
have to.
Yeah.
You can't. It doesn't look. I mean, as I said before, the game looks pretty for an N64 game, but it is an N64 game, which have that certain type of charm to it that, depending on what they went for, but the way it played and one thing I didn't even mention, like, you get Sasuke gets bombs in this game, which I never used except when the game made me, but just more features of the stuff the game had.
Yeah.
And the platforming was good. Like, there were a couple parts that really reminded me of Mystical Ninja for Super Nintendo, where like I was climbing a tower and I'm like, this feels like this is straight up from that game. Mm-hmm. Like, and the level where you rescue Ye in the Super Nintendo game.
Right, yeah, the face boss, like the giant face, where first you fight those sumo fighter guys, and then like the face comes out, and then you have to fight the face, and it gets bigger and bigger. Which. That's another game that I think is just fantastic, is Legend of the Mystical Ninja for Super Nintendo. That game is spectacular. Easily one of my favorites for the console. Let me just say it out here. Yeah, I am a huge fan of the Goemon franchise. There's a lot of games in this series that I absolutely love.
So I have an important question to see if I'm the only idiot. So when you were playing as the robot, did you know that you could do the combo moves, or did you just do the weak punches?
Here's the weird thing: unless you had the manual, which I don't even think in the manual they list all of the specials. There's a lot of specials, and that's the weird thing. Like, there's a lot of specials that Impact can do, and I don't even think even the manual lists every one of them. Like, there's the punch combo where it's like light punch, heavy punch, or light punch, heavy kick, and there's a couple of laser beam attacks you can do. I know in the sequel to this game, Goemon's Great Adventure, they actually on the pause screen, they actually give you a complete list of the moves. But in this game, they don't really tell you, and it's kind of annoying because those are really great. Those are really great moves for like when you need to like cut through the chase and get to the point. Like, yeah, it's a little sad they don't actually tell you the moves in this game.
I also just realized you can shoot the gold and the mech way faster than what I was doing.
Oh yeah.
I'm watching the speedrun where they're fighting the final boss and they're just shooting it like,
yeah.
I mean, they're dropping his health in no time where I was going boom, boom, boom. Yeah. I didn't realize you could just unload.
Oh yeah, you could just like rapid fire, just like yeah, like oh yeah. No,
like there's a beam attack that you can do as the I didn't know that either.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said,
no wonder this game was hard for me as a robot.
Unfortunately for this game, like I said, like unless you even have like the manual, like they don't actually tell you like all of the moves in this game, and it's kind of sad. I know there's a couple of FAQs I think that actually do have every single special move for Impact listed, but yeah, there are hidden special moves for Impact for those who want to play this. Just to give you an FYI.
I would have appreciated that before I played this. It really made this game more. Every time I had to play Impact, I was upset because I'm like, it's gonna take forever.
And it's sad too because I actually really like the Impact fights. When you first play, it's a little like, I don't know, like, there's this is gonna be bothersome. But like after you play the Impact fights a couple of times, I think they start to grow on you.
Well, now that I know that I could do other stuff besides one heavy punch tag of 100 health of a 2,000 health, like, yeah. I mean, also this game was forgiving. There was one point where I had to do a continue at the final boss fight, and I was like, oh, great, is it going to be stupid? And it was friendly. It let me go right back to the final boss fight. It didn't make me fight the planet again. It didn't make me...
No, of course not.
I was like, I appreciate that. Thank you for being a nice 64 game. Because sometimes, games of this era are like, well, that's nice. You can start complete where you last saved.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's nice too, because like I'm pretty sure right before every single Impact fight and right after every Impact fight, they give you a save point. Like right before, like after the cutscene, it's like, oh, the game wants to save now. Do you want to save your game? Yes or no? And then like right after you beat the fight, like Goemon or whatever character you're playing as lands from Impact, and then like the screen comes up, oh, the game wants to save. Do you want to save? Yes or no? Friendly,
because I feel like sometimes games are just not that friendly in this era. Did Goemon's Great Adventure come out the year after than this?
Oh, Great Adventure.
Goemon's Great Adventure did come out the year after, 1999.
Was it 99? Yeah.
Yep, it was.
I'm looking at a video right now. I did not realize that game's a side scroller.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Goemon's Great Adventure goes for something kind of different with its gameplay. It's a lot more difficult, actually.
That's fair. Side scrollers can be a pain in the ass. As a guy who sucks at them, I completely believe that.
I will. Fair warning for everybody that wants to play Goemon's Great Adventure. It's also a good game, but like the difficulty is quite a lot more difficult. It's fair warning. It actually does get pretty difficult.
I definitely do want to. Now I'm interested.
Yeah.
Not because it's difficult, but just because this game was so much fun. It was just nice. I mean, it always feels good to be surprised and play a game from the N64 for any older era, the eras that I grew up in where I played a lot of games, and to be like find something that I just didn't know existed, and that this game did that for me. It's all thanks to you, Phil. Mention it randomly on Player One at some point.
Well, I mean, hang around me or listen to me enough, and I will eventually mention Goemon.
That is very true. But I mean, that's what did it. I mean, much as I love Mystical Ninja for Super Nintendo, I never had an interest to, play this game. And it wasn't until you had talked about it that finally got convinced. I'm like, oh, great. And then, after we did, Mystical Ninja last year, I want to say, this has been on my mind ever since.
As well it should be.
All right, we want questions, comments, memories. So when I posted, I'm like, oh, no one's going to answer. I posted like 4 different groups. I'm like, I'm going to get nothing. And I actually got a lot of people really complimenting this game. So I'm going to read a few. First, from the official Laser Time community they have a podcast too, but from the group. From Trey Johnson, friend of the show. One of my favorite N64 games. I bought the Super Famicom games too. Also bought this Goemon cell from Japan. He has like a cell in the picture.
Oh, nice.
So he was the one that was almost on this episode. From Nick Turner, I love the SNES game and actually started looking at eBay for copies of this a few days ago.
Good.
I'm sure this isn't cheap. I don't know.
Yeah, I have no idea what a copy of this game goes for nowadays.
I am curious. I am going to eBay and look it up. And then I can get ads for it for the next few days on Facebook that I won't be buying.
Oof a doof.
Not cheap.
Well, okay, now hold on here.
Oh, 125 for
let's go to sold. Let's go to sold items.
You mean you don't trust eBay?
25 bucks.
That's fair.
25 bucks. No, well, here's the problem though. Are these repro carts?
Oh,
that's the problem these days.
I mean, I'm okay with that existing if you're a person that wants to buy something to play it.
Oh yeah.
As long as you're aware that it doesn't trick you in any shape or form, and make sure you are aware that you're not buying a real copy for your collector.
I'm looking at one of these ones that sold for like 25 bucks. That's looking like a repro cart. Once I actually like zoom in and look at the label, and they're not selling it. They're not saying it's a repro cart.
That's shitty. That I have a problem with. I don't have an issue with people, selling repro as long as you, especially for stuff that doesn't exist anymore. I mean, this is something that came to America, but like for games that never came to America, it doesn't bother me.
Like I'm looking at one cartridge only that sold for about 150, and you look at the label and it's nice and bright and everything looks properly proportioned. And then there's one that sold for like 25, and an untrained eye is going to look at that label and not think a second thought about it. But I look at it and I'm just like immediately like, oh, that Nintendo seal of quality looks a little off in its alignment and its shape. And the font on the Konami logo doesn't really look like the font on the Konami logo. So
that's shady.
People are definitely
don't tell people that it's
that's just like, this is a used item.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I'm looking at two different ones on eBay right now, one for 125 and one for 27. Yeah. And the quality of the label is so it's darker. The some of the stuff just looks off.
Yeah, it looks like it's been kind of stretched a little bit. The
label doesn't even fit in the picture they took of the spot where it would fit on the cartridge.
No, it doesn't. Yeah,
I'm like, really now? You can't.
If you are looking to get a loose copy, just the cartridge of Mystical Ninja starring Goemon, and you're paying less than about 150 for it, you're probably getting a bootleg. So please be aware.
And this is why I hate the modern retro gaming resale market.
I don't collect. I used to be a collector.
Yeah, same.
For games, I'm not anymore. I'm like, nope.
Yeah,
I have all my collection. I won't sell it because I'm stupid. But
this is just so soulless. Like, I hate it. Like, I want everybody to enjoy retro video games, and this breaks my heart. Like, yeah, I hate this. Wow. Okay.
I mean, again, if you want to say it's repro and you make sure everyone's well aware that what they're buying is not authentic, you sell it for cheap enough so people can play a game. I don't like it because it's not, but I'm more okay with it than when you take something and try to pass it off as real, because that's just, you're going to upset the person that's buying it.
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing if you're buying just to play it and you're like, I want to play this. I want to play this legit hardware. This is my only way to do this.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I don't agree with it, but fine, whatever. But when you're doing it, when you're, tricking people, that's a whole different story.
Mm.
Real quick, I'll be right back. One of my kids' friends just showed up, so I got to go get my kid to see if he wants to play. I'll be right back.
Hey, you're good. I'll just read a few comments.
Yeah.
From Andrew Bishop, that gave us why I bought a memory card.
Yeah, that's a good idea to have one of those.
Yeah, this game would be hard to play in one sitting without a memory card. All right,
You could, but it would take a while.
From Gabe Kleinert, I loved this game. All the cultural references went right over my head, but I found the gameplay to be super fun, and I love exploring this goofy world.
I know that feeling. I had a couple of cultural things, like as a little kid playing this, where I was like, oh, I don't know what that is, but it looks so cute and interesting and delightful. I didn't know what the dongo dumplings were as a kid, and I thought they were little marshmallow balls. Are those marshmallows? They look like marshmallows. They're so cute.
That's fair.
I want to try one. They look delicious.
They do kind of look like that. I mean, I've always been fascinated by Japanese culture and food because of the anime and stuff, and I still am.
No, of course, yeah. Same here.
I actually go to a ramen restaurant now quite often that
nice.
I'm pretty sure is, it's really damn good food.
Oh, yeah, the authentic stuff. That stuff is
it's an authentic I'm pretty sure it's an authentic place, and they have really good ramen.
Yes.
I get seafood ramen every time, and then I gross out my wife when I eat the mussels in front of her. But
Oh, God.
she hates it. I'm like, I love these.
No, of course.
And then I watched the entire Orbulid Super Replay group from my wife, Tiffany Albertin. But have you seen the anime, which we did mention earlier? I didn't even know the anime existed until that.
Right. There is an actual anime. It's kind of unfortunately like a very like little kids anime. It's a little formulaic, but it's cute. There's some cute moments. I love seeing that like the Goemon characters and their like original designs are in the anime. Like Ibi Sumaru looks exactly like Ibi Sumaru. Like he has the roundness, he has like the cute closed eyes, the nose. Like I love that. That's so good.
I am curious about it now. I don't know. I doubt I'll watch it, but I might look it up and if I can find it on YouTube and take a look.
It's cute. Yeah, it's cute.
Yeah, it definitely skews younger.
Yeah,
that is sure.
You know, there is part of it is on YouTube.
Yeah,
so maybe I'll check out the first episode for like a minute and see what I think.
Okay, nice.
That's about as far as I'm not a big anime guy either, unfortunately.
No, that's understandable.
Especially kid anime.
It's cute though. I don't know, like if you got like little kids or whatever, yeah, it's really cute.
All right, and let's see what else I have here. I have from Nick Ludeman. As a kid, I rented this a ton from Blockbuster, but never owned it, despite it being one of my favorite N64 games. I remember finding the town NPCs, music, and overall vibe so charming. While most kids looked up to Link, I thought the green hair Sasuke was the coolest dude ever with the jetpack, bombs, and dual daggers.
Right, yes, and he's a little robot too, and he's just awesome. Like Sasuke he's so cool. Like just like I just love his design. I love that one of his other moves when he fights is that he shoots his hair upwards. Like I love that. Just shoots it upward, like blink. Like I love that. That's so great.
It's a super charming game from Brendan Smith. I love this weird ass game. Yeah. The opening song and robot song are still some of my favorite game tunes, and I go back and listen to them a lot. It's hard to imagine the gameplay holds up, but I loved them back in the day. One of my favorite hidden gems on the system. I remember thinking it was genuinely funny at times too.
Which reminds me, I forgot to do this earlier, which I apologize once again for being late into this podcast, but I just have to say, dash, dash, dash!
And I will say the gameplay still held up for an N64 game.
Yeah.
Like, I have to say that it wasn't, it was still completely playable, completely fun.
Yeah.
And that's not always something I can say.
No, it's
for an older game. Like
it's really it's easy to understand. Like it has that like kind of easy to get into Zelda-like feeling. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, from Levy Chartier. Oh man, I love this on N64. My grandmother had an N64 for the grandkids to play when they came over, and this was one of the 3 games she had, and I played the shit out of it.
Hell yes.
Amazing.
That's just weird. Like this is the game that somebody ended up with.
I love that. That's wonderful.
And from Colin Venbles, the robot mech song lives rent-free in my head since I was a child. From Charles Bells, I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it and have both of this and its sequel as physical copies for my N64.
Nice.
Pretty nice. From Richard Sampson, friend of the show, the first and only Mystical Ninja game I ever played. At times it felt almost like it was a farce of a game. Thinking of the ending still makes me laugh. From Dakota Elfreen, I have fond memories of getting lost in that game, walking to my local library, looking up an FAQ to get further.
Nice.
I did that with Pokemon Yellow to try to get Mew from under that truck, or Pokemon Red or Blue.
Oh god, that code thing.
Those are my early days of the internet. We're trying to get Pokemon in a game that didn't exist.
Yes.
So I'll never forget those days. From Star Myers, friend of the show, I always remember seeing this weird little game cover in my local rental shop. Never tried it, but neat to hear it's good.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And from the N64 Supergroup. Here's a good one from Alex Cervantes. Only the best game on the N64.
There you go.
Yes.
From Jordan Wilkinson. I have yet to play the N64 Goemon game, but I did get my hands on the Japan-only Gamber Goemon sequels for Super Famicom recently.
Oh, good.
Those I'm really curious to play, and I have been ever since Phil talked about them last year when we did the other game. So
right, and now a lot of those, especially for the Super Famicom, are like all translated, so you can pretty much go for it. Like as the title of the game series is called, go for it, Goemon.
From Arthur Korea, I think 2 out of every 3 interactions of mine in this group are about this game. One of my favorite games ever. Mm-hmm. Again, I was so surprised when I posted this and people are just responding constantly positive. I was like, that is not what I expected. Like I expected like nothing. And people love this game. And I'm like, where were people? I've never heard anyone talk about but Phil before this.
Same.
So I was really surprised.
It really wasn't the until the internet that I found people that knew about like Goemon stuff or like the games, because like I used to rent the N64 games all the time. Luckily, I consider this a very lucky part of my childhood. Mystical Ninja for Super Nintendo was one of the few games that we actually owned as a family, when I was a little kid. Like we owned Mario World, we owned Hit the Ice by Taito. Yeah. We owned Mystical Ninja, and we owned, I think, Sim City and Lemmings. Those were all the games we owned for Super Nintendo. And yeah, like lucky enough, we owned Mystical Ninja, and just, oh man, just the hours I spent on that game.
I don't even know how I got Mystical Ninja. I mean, I know it was a game my mom found, but I don't even know why I had it. Like, it was just one of the games I had that my mom bought me, and I remember playing it a ton, and I don't understand how it ended up there. But
yeah.
I'm not the only one I see, so that's good. And from Igor VP, here's a good one. This game with no nostalgic glasses since I played it recently in order to test that the game is as good as I remembered. And I have to say that it's pretty much as good as any game can get. Great music, characters, level design, cool ideas everywhere, a so well-crafted game. Maybe the camera is sometimes tricky and people won't like the graphics, but it's an S-tier ranked game for today's standards. So
I'm happy. I'm always happy to hear that type of stuff. I didn't know if this would work for some people who haven't played this before, but like I'm glad to hear it. Yeah, same here.
And that I didn't expect. And here's a good one from Parker Gosling. Such a fun game. I love learning impact special moves. Those blew my mind as a kid.
Yes.
Must have been nice.
There you go.
The rapid punch combo, the laser beams, good stuff.
From Jay Soul, top 5 N64 games. I don't care what anyone says.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. It's this is my favorite N64 game ever. Like, I love
here's
this game
one
very much.
From Alex Baker, looks like trash.
Oh,
the thing I find humorous is this is in an N64 group.
Wow.
They all look like trash if you don't like this one. So, like, none of them. Wow. If you're judging this game badly, you're judging every N64 game.
Yeah, excuse me. Wow.
Go play GoldenEye again without nostalgia goggles and let me know how that goes.
Yeah, no kidding.
I mean, I love GoldenEye. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. But when we covered that game, back when I first did the show we did for episode 10, we had a guy in there who never played GoldenEye as a kid and played it for the first time. Oh, and he's like, this game is terrible. And we're all like, what are you talking about? The game's great. But no nostalgic for it. And he just hated it. And I'm like, I get it. I completely get it. All right. And let's see. I got a lot. I can't read them all, but I did get a lot of comments that I was really surprised that people. All right. From Joey Jacks, those Megazord battles, though.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Hell yeah.
All right. I'm going to read one more from this group, if I can find it, after I clicked off it. From Daryl Morris, adored this game and enjoyed it more than Ocarina of Time and Mario 64. Ooh, and I'll read one more from the group. From Drew Taylor, I played and completed it. It's quite bizarre. Definitely an above average game, but there's a lot better games out there.
Yeah,
some people had different opinions.
Yeah, of course. All right.
And the last group I'm going to read from Giant Bob. I got a few from Chris Spencer. I randomly got a box copy of this game in a trade on a video game collecting forum like 2012. I did not expect it to skyrocket in value like it did, but I love this game and still have it.
Oh, yeah. Glad to hear.
Right. From Dante Lee, I just hope you mentioned how fantastic and bizarre I Am Impact is. That is all.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have. All right, from Gary Suzlik. This game's real good, but I've got the biggest love for Goemon's Great Adventure. Both of them are just fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect games of their era. I'm really curious now about Goemon's Great Adventure.
It's great.
It's a damn great game. It's really good.
I'm more interested now. Like after playing this, I'm very skeptical of 64 games in general and PS1 games. That's why there's not a ton of them on this show if they had some kind of connection to me. But because I took a leap of faith and played this game, I'm definitely now more interested to play some more.
As well, you should be.
Yeah.
All right, last one I'm going to read from Danny Klein. We rented the shit out of this game growing up to the point where Blockbuster was calling our house and threatening to charge us full price plus late fee.
Oh, God. Oh, no.
Remember those days?
Oh, God.
Man, I think it's funny you can mention Blockbuster. People think, what's that? I mean, again, it makes sense because it's been around. It's been gone for a while, but it's just funny to me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, and then that brings us to our last segment, Shelf Stacker Box. And Kyle, what about you?
This might seem a little predictable, but this game would easily go on not only would it go on my shelf, but it would be displayed proudly, along with some of my other favorite N64 games. I love this game so much. I think it's so charming. I think it's very cute. I think the gameplay still works, even years later, especially in a period of time where I feel like a lot of people really dunk hardcore on the N64, and like, I get it. I totally get why they're dunking on it, but I don't think it's actually that bad, but that's just me. But I'm not saying that like they're wrong. I'm just saying that I think they're just going a little too hard on the N64 dunking. But like, yeah, I think this game is just, it's so damn charming and great. The characters are funny and cute and charming, and like the adventure is still there. It feels like you're really going on an adventure, and it's still worth it. And plus, this game is like surprisingly pretty easy. So like, anyone can play it. Like, you don't have to like, get good or anything like that. Like, no, like,
no, you don't.
If you know how to play a Zelda game, then you can easily play this game. Like, walk around, run around the world, try to look for the silver cats, talk to people, fight some enemies, get some coins, like go find castles, and once again, talk to people, and to get clues for stuff, and there you go. Like, you're playing the game.
But yeah, this part, talking to people, but yes.
Yeah. This game easily goes on my shelf. I love this game very much.
Okay. And what about you, Phil?
Oh, you build the most beautiful gilded shelf you possibly can. Some might say a pedestal, and you place this upon it, and you look towards it daily for affirmation that there is still good in the universe, because Mystical Ninja Starring Goemon is a wonderful game with humor and happiness and tokusatsu anime music up the wazoo. It's so good, and it does hold up, which is weird to say about an N64 game, but it does. The gameplay is still fun. Obviously, the vibes and the tone and the humor is still top notch. It's just a rare treat to have such a quality third party N64 game that is still just as good today as it was back then. My goodness, I love Goemon games.
And do you have a physical version of this?
Oh, certainly.
Okay, I figure you probably did. I know you have. Yeah. You have a bunch of the Goemon games, don't you?
I have. I want to say a complete set of physical Goemon games. Not all boxed, but I guess I bought this game back when it was first released, because
you were old enough to know better not to destroy your boxes and throw them away like I did.
Oh no!
I was always an anal retentive. I mean, I wasn't a kid when this game came out. I was, what was this, 98? So
yeah, 98.
Yeah, I would have been, let me do the math. I would have been, early 20s. I would have been I was in my early 20s at that point, because I'm wicked old. But even as a kid, I was very anal retentive and held on to all my video game boxes and that sort of thing. So
I regret that. I did not.
I mean, recently I did. I bought some, plastic protection cases to put all my old game boxes in at this point, just to try and keep them as minty as I can for the future.
No, I get that. I regret that I just destroyed the old stuff. I just didn't care. I'm like, I kept the CD. When we got the CD stuff, I kept all that. I didn't care about the early stuff.
Yeah.
Hell, I did it with Funko Pops, too. There's a couple of Funko Pops. I ripped up the boxes, and I'm like, you dumbass. And I was old enough to know better. Like, wasn't that long ago. I'm 34 right now, and it was probably I was like 29 or 30 at the time. And I just didn't care. I'm like, I don't care about these. And now I'm like, yeah, they got to have the box. Like, that's how this works. All right, and I'll go last. I'm going to put this in the shelf, too. As I said before, I came to this game with no expectations. I was like, okay, I'm going to play it, see what I think. I love Mystical Ninja for Super Nintendo, and I just had a great time. I had a way better time than I expected. I will be telling people to play this game. Like, this game still holds up. Whether you have nostalgic or not, play it. It's still fun, and it's not that challenging, which is always a plus.
Yep.
So, great fucking game. And I'm so happy I finally experienced it, because I've been a fan of the series, on the one Super Nintendo game, and that was it. And I really thought a lot of that was just nostalgic, but no, this is just a fun series and a fun game.
Yep.
Now I'm really curious about Goemon's Great Adventure, which will probably be in the show next year now, because I think I need to I need to experience that one too. So we'll see. But yeah, it's gonna happen. I'm watching a video of it. It doesn't look as interesting because it's a side scroller, but it reminds me a lot of Klonoa.
Yeah, I can get that.
Yeah.
So I think I enjoyed Klonoa, even though I played it wrong from what I remember, but I kind of enjoyed it.
Klonoa's great.
Yeah, that was. And next week you can hear us talk about Now I have to pull it back up. I cannot remember, even though I'm pretty sure I just mentioned it earlier today. Cadence of Hyrule will be next week's episode. You can hear me talk about that.
Nice. Hell yeah.
Excellent.
Another good game that a lot of first experiences on this podcast lately that are all been really good games. So that's been a nice change of pace. Played Terra Nymba. I played Half-Life for the first time. Both were great experiences. So a lot of good stuff. And Phil, where can people find you at?
People can find me again at the Player One podcast every week talking about video games. I'm on the social medias. I'm Whimsical Phil on the Twitters.
What's Twitter?
What's that?
What's Twitter? Never heard of it.
Well, ask me again in a month or two. We'll see.
See if it's still around.
I'm also I made it to the Blue Sky, so I'm Whimsical Phil on Blue Sky. So look around. You can find me.
I need to get on. I need to try some other. Twitter's really burned me when they started to be like, oh, if you don't, like, you only get 600 tweets, you can see. I'm like, then I just like, okay, you guys are like, this is it's a social media platform. Like, what?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm okay seeing random ads. I mean, I go on Facebook enough. Like, I see, like, I'm going to see ads for Mystical Ninja now on eBay. I can tell you that already is going to happen. But like, I've accepted that fact. But when you're like, you only get 600 tweets unless you pay us, then you only get 6,000 if you pay us. Like, Twitter. And Kyle, where can people find you at?
You can find me on Twitter at at UFO_Canada, and you can find me on Blue Sky at chibufo.bsky.social. You can find me on those various and as well as Instagram at chibufo, where I post just random musings, talk about old retro video games, cute stuff in video games, and horror, and all of those, and film, and all of those in between at those various sites.
All right. And if you enjoyed this episode, you can find over 500 other episodes of games my mom found that we've done. We do movies, comics, TV shows, whatever the hell I convince people to talk about with me. So you can go find everything we do on Podbean. Just search just on the Podbean site. You can search all our episodes. Type in Star Wars, type in Resident Evil, type in Mystical Ninja. Now you'll pull up 2 episodes. So definitely go do that. And if you want to support the show, we do a Patreon. You'll see a link in the show notes to our Patreon. Little $1. We have polls every month. The current poll running this month right now is Edgar Wright movies Mike has never seen. So definitely go vote in that for as little as $1. You can help impact the show. And also, we have a Discord. Please join our Discord. You'll see a link in the show notes too to chat with us. And want to give a shout out to my awesome intro and outro courtesy of Helena at Hell Hasper. You can follow her on TikTok. She's TikTok famous now. So definitely go check her out and tell her I sent you. And I want to give a shout out to my buddy Bill Tucker, who did the MCU movies with me. He started his own podcast, A Gamer Looks at 40. So definitely go check him out also. You'll see a link in the show notes. I think that's everything I need to say. So we will see you guys all next time. Bye, everybody.
Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.